Greetings, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Jaeger-LeCoultre Duometre à Quantième Lunaire, 42mm in 18-karat rose gold. You can see and purchase this dual wing movement manual wind complication on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch, with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this Jaeger-LeCoultre Duometre. Now, originally released in 2007 as the Duometre à chronograph, which, as the name implies, featured a chronograph in addition to civil time, the Duometre line expanded in 2010 with the watch you see here, a combination of an ultra-precise moonphase and civil time display. It also introduced a skeletonized dial which contained the framed twin power reserves for each of the watch's two distinct internal movements. Yes, I said two movements, more on that in a moment. The timepiece is 42mm across the round of the case, not inclusive of the crown or the pusher adjuster at 10 o'clock, which, it should be noted, adjusts the date. The watch is 14mm thick, and you can see that it does have a conical bezel with a domed sapphire, so it does slide easily underneath the dress cuff. It's 14, but it's a thin 14. From lug to lug, it has good but not overpowering span, 50.5mm from extremity to extremity. It looks large, it feels large, but it doesn't overwhelm my 16cm circumference wrist, and I would say you don't have to go down to the 40.5mm case size in the Duometre to be able to wear it on, I would say, a wrist as small as 14.5cm in circumference. It wears quite reasonably with nicely shaped, sharply downturned lugs. It has impressive heft on the wrist too. The case has an impressive profile when viewed from the side, and this massive gold means that on the wrist the watch is visually spectacular, true, but it's also massive and impressive. Eyes closed, you know you're wearing something special. The strap on the Duometre models, regardless of model within the family, is always among the best that Jaeger-LeCoultre offers. They're substantial, but they also arrive soft from the factory. So with the condition of a new strap, but the feeling of one that's been bedded in, that's been broken in. The sides are folded. This one is a dark brown, minimally bolstered and monotone stitched example that terminates in a Jaeger-LeCoultre rose gold double deployant clasp. Outstanding. Two swing arms, fits better on a smaller wrist if you have to really strap it down to a small perforation. Those borderline fits can often become awkward with big single fold buckles, so ergonomically Jaeger-LeCoultre is on the right track here. Now you'll also note that the case of the watch features true double finish. Those are not slotted or screwed in lugs, they are welded or soldered on, and it's the process of joining the lug to the case that creates that beautiful step between them, but also the complex task of finishing the case with its striated satin grain and the lug with its beautiful optically clear polish. You'll also note beautiful attention to detail, the slight rounded profile of the date adjustment pusher, simply gorgeous, and if I may say, slightly evocative of A Lungo una Zona. Now you jump to the dial and you can see that there's a lot going on. The seconds track outboard is stepped up relative to the inner dial. Now there are a couple of concentric registers. You can see that on the civil time scale it's purely for show, but on the complication scale, at 10 o'clock, there's quite a bit going on. There is a moonphase, a bosom-style moonphase inboard. Just outside of that, there's a small age of the moon indicator, which has a combination of pictogram moons and actual age in days, right up to the 29.5 maximum age of a single cycle of the moon. And then outboard of that, on a separate concentric scale, you can see a 31-day calendar. Of course, the spectacular flying seconds, or foudroyant, is at 6 o'clock and somewhat fatuous. I'll admit that whereas it has a purpose on the chronograph, here its purpose is primarily to, first of all, animate the dial, because the moonphase is a rather static complication, so the foudroyant nicely counterweights that, but also because the watch has one of the most spectacular hacking stop seconds features I've ever seen. The foudroyant adds an extra measure to the drama of that mechanism in action, so let's take a look at how it works. First, you pull the crown to the first detent, which stops the balance. You'll note the foudroyant has been halted, but so is the civil seconds hand. Now, I pull it out to extremity, and now you see it resets to the index at 12. And the way that happens on the caseback is part of the magic of the movement. You'll note the dual wing movement, we got to know it on the caliber 380 in the Duometre chronograph. Here it's back, still manually wound, still with two 50-hour power reserves, still made of what would be called German silver if this were Germany, Saxony specifically. Since we are in French-speaking Valais de Jeu, it is Micourt, a combination of nickel and copper and zinc. It has a beautiful golden hue because unlike rhodium-plated brass, this needs no plating to maintain its anti-corrosive properties. Now you'll note at center, the rotating center seconds wheel that drives the hand on the dial. Now you'll note as I pull the crown to its first detent, it halts. And now as I pull the crown out, the hammer falls just like a chronograph, recenters the chronograph, seconds hand at center, so too does the hammer on the civil time seconds wheel recenter and zero the time on the front of the watch. So what's the purpose of all of this chronometric precision? Well, it's just that, chronometric accuracy. Now, while the watch does not carry a COSC certificate, Jaeger-LeCoultre explicitly stated that the watch would achieve the highest chronometric precision of any timepiece in its manufacture. That is why you have one mainspring barrel exclusively to power the balance and maintain amplitude, and the other mainspring barrel powers everything else. Seconds, 1/6 of a second, hours, minutes, the age of the moon phase itself, and the date wheel. Thus, by driving the complications with an independent power reserve, JLC avoids diminishing the amplitude of the balance. Thus, we have perfect timekeeping thanks to two parallel drivetrains born of two parallel mainspring or power sources. And of course, there's gorgeous depth to the movement. It's one of the most finely finished calibers that JLC has. Admittedly, many of the manufacturer's lower-end calibers, especially the automatics, are principally machine finished. When you buy a Duometre, rest assured you're getting something finished entirely by artisanal hands. It holds up beautifully under a loupe and rewards repeat viewing. You can see and you can purchase this fantastic dual wing movement Jaeger-LeCoultre Duometre Quantième Lunaire on our website.